Hey, welcome everyone. Greetings. Welcome Super Herbs of Ayurveda. I'm Jai Dave. I'm happy you're here with me. And I think we're going to have a beautiful time today. A beautiful class. And it's definitely a beautiful subject to go into. And anytime I go into it, Ayurveda, herbs, yoga, I always do so with an awareness that it's a living thing, and there's a living energy. And I always like to approach it with a genuine type of reverence, because number one, it's done so much for me, this science of Ayurveda and these incredible herbs. So many people are suffering on the planet. Many of us ourselves and with our health challenges, and many of us we have family members who may be aging and struggling with the aging process, and just everyday life, whether it's medical conditions or just everyday life of, the bigger reason for all of this is that you are born with a purpose. If you have a mind, you have a mission. And in order to gain happiness in life, we have to put that purpose in motion, activate that mission. And happiness and contentment in life comes from, and fulfillment in life comes from moving in the direction of doing what you incarnated, what you came here to do. And in order to do that, you're going to need great vitality. In order to do that, you're going to need great clarity. In order to do that, you're going to need great perseverance. In order to live like to carry a torch of consciousness on the planet right now, to where your very presence and your existence on the planet for yourself, for your family, for your friends, and for those whom you don't even know or have contact with, for your presence to act as a healing force on the planet, it requires good vitality. It requires good clarity. And there is very few things that are as effective as using the right type of herb for the right type of person at the right time in order to give yourself a very real and very, very advantageous edge in that direction. And so at the most basic level, it doesn't make sense to not be using herbs. And the medical system, modern medicine, has many, many strengths. And nothing in this class or what I teach is in opposition to modern medicine. But it has its place. Herbs are something that all of us should be using, in my opinion, in order, if we're currently not unhealthy, in order to maintain our vitality, keep ourselves healthy. And they work just so darn well in order to treat the chronic things that all of us deal with from time to time. Fatigue, discontent, restlessness, inability to sleep well, to be able to digest well so the body can maintain its energy. All of the simple things in life to keep the body feeling healthy, to feel comfortable in your body, so you can focus on what's genuinely, ultimately important in your life, your higher pursuits of life. So that's the bigger context in this. What I always, I teach this course. It's called Complete Course of Ayurveda. And right out the gate in that course, and we've had hundreds, if not thousands, of students go through that course at this point. And I teach Ayurveda not in the sense to train practitioners of Ayurveda, because there's plenty of great schools for that. And although we have many practitioners who end up taking the course, because what's unique about the course, or one of the unique things about the course, is it's Ayurveda through the lens of the yogi, through the lens of pursuing what you're here to do. And it's for people who aren't necessarily going to be practitioners of Ayurveda, but this is not a science that needs to be reserved for the medical context. It's a art and it's a science that belongs in the home. It belongs with parents passing down to their children. It belongs with grandparents passing down to their grandchildren. And those wisdom lineages that used to be well intact for hundreds and thousands of years are no longer as intact as the world has become smaller, as our time has seemingly sped up, as the world has become more chaotic. We have a double-edged sword because on one hand, those wisdom lineages that have been passed down through family, through homes, through the coziness of homes and the love of grandparents and the love of parents to the love of their children, we have to put that back intact. And that's what you and I are doing here. And in combination with that, we have a increasingly chaotic world where it's much more important for that to be in place. So this is the bigger idea behind what we're doing here, is that these things are among the most important things. Because in order for us to maintain the love in our life, to make sure that that love is supreme in our lives, we have to keep the nervous system healthy. We have to keep the mind healthy. We have to keep the body healthy, and so that our lives can be service oriented. And so there's the bigger mission behind all of this. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to go into these teachings of this super herbs of Ayurveda. And so if you have other windows open on your computers or whatever device you're watching this on, I want to encourage you to, we're just going to be here for a short amount of time. But even if you were to just take a couple important things out of this and you were to actually act on them and integrate them into your life, it could very well have a radical positive impact on your life. So why not, close the Facebook tab or close whatever other distractions may be, and let's just for the next hour or so, you and I, and our virtual classroom we have here, people from all over the world, let's go inside of these teachings with reverence. It comes from a long line of thousands of years of teacher to student, teacher to student, teacher to student, golden chain that has connected us all together today. Let's go into these teachings. Let's open our minds, open our hearts, and open our intuition, because there'll be lots that you're going to hear today. And use your intuition to decide for yourself, all right, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I intuit and I feel in my heart. That is what's going to be important for me right now in my life. And so that's the goal of the class. If you can just get one or two things, I would recommend you have a pad and a pen or somewhere where you can take some notes, because I'm gonna give you some stuff here. But have a section of those notes where it's just, action items. And I just want you to choose one or two for today. And then at the end of this, I'll give you a opportunity for those of you who want to take a really deep dive and go much deeper into the science with me. Because there's some things, depending on whether you're brand new to some of this stuff, some of you may know Ayurveda a little bit or quite a lot. Depending on your current level of experience, some things may go a little over your head. Some things may, penetrate and land perfectly. None of that matters. The goal for today is not for you to remember all the details. What my goal for you today is for you to get a bigger picture, to come away with this I get the sophistication in this. I may have to dive deeper and spend more time on it to really integrate it fully into my life. But my goal for today is for you to get some practical nuggets that are going to be coming through. But even more importantly for me, I want the light bulbs to come off like, boom, this world we live in, this universe is majestic. This science is powerful. This art, this human body is amazing. That's my wish, is that the beautiful and majestic art of Ayurveda has that type of inspirational impact on you today. And so when we talk about the super herbs of Ayurveda, so to speak, that's the energy that I'm approaching this with. So to start, super herbs is a way of putting a lens on how to look at herbs in general, and that's what I want to really, we have to start there, because there's no way for us to talk about so-called super herbs without us understanding how does Ayurveda look at herbs, look at medicine in general, which reminds me of the story, which is a beautiful starting point, of Jivak, the great physician, ancient physician of India. And the physicians of the greatest physicians of India were all enlightened masters, and there was not really separation between spirituality and medicine, because as we go into this, we see it's all the same. The highest medicine is the deepest spirituality. And so Jivak became actually treated Lord Buddha, the great Shakyamuni Buddha. And there's a beautiful story of how the Buddha chose his physician. And he had three prospects, as the story goes. And he told each of the three to go out into the forest, and he said, go find me something in the forest that is not medicine. Go find me something that isn't medicine. And so all three went out, Jivak being one. And they went out, and pretty soon thereafter, the first of the prospects came back to Lord Buddha, and prostrated down before him, and presented him some stones, just some seemingly ordinary rock. And he said, Lord Buddha, I could find no medicinal purposes for this rock. And Lord Buddha took the rock, examined it, and then crushed it down, and did some purification process to it, and then proceeded to show the first prospect how this actually indeed can be used for medicinal purposes. The next, after perhaps a few more hours, the next prospect came back with a dead carcass of an animal, and said, Lord Buddha, he said, I can find no medicinal purposes for this dead carcass. And the Buddha then cleaned the carcass, and then did some sort of purification process on that animal, dead animal, and showed him how different parts of it could be used for different medicinal purposes. And then there was the third prospect, which was Jivak. And he never came back. And 1 day went by, 2 days went by, and everybody started to worry what happened to Jivak. And so a search party was sent out. And after some time, they found Jivak, and they brought him back to the Buddha. And he approached the Lord Buddha with the deepest reverence, tears streaming down his face. Lord Buddha, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I could find nothing that had no medicinal purposes. Everywhere I looked, everything I found had some medicinal purpose. And that's how the Buddha chose Jivak as his physician, because everything can be used as medicine, and that is central to Ayurvedic vision, understanding, philosophy, concept. So that's our starting point. We say super herbs. Everything is ultimately a super herb. And these principles are not just for medicinal herbs, but for foods, because the line between food and herbs, as you'll see, is very thin when we go into this. Everything is medicine. Food, we don't... My teacher always said, don't live to eat. Eat to live. So your food is medicine. And so these same principles I'm teaching you today, and for those of you who know these principles some, there's one mantra I do not want you to use during this class, and that's 3 words: I know that. I know that. No, we're going into this with a fresh vision. We're understanding this is an infinite science, and we always are metabolizing it and digesting it deeper and deeper and deeper layers. I'm going to learn something today. I know. I always do. Every time I invoke this stuff, it gets more clear. It goes deeper for me. So that those three words, I know that, are the ones I want you to try to wipe away from your awareness right now. So going into the mystery, into the teachings, into the knowledge, into the truth. Everything is medicine. Your food is medicine. Now, everything, including your body and your mind, everything you see around you, made up of 5 primary things. Basics of yoga, basics of Ayurveda. What are those 5 things? Earth, water, fire, air, and ether or space. So your body is nothing but earth, the muscle tissue, the structure of the body, water, the fluids of the body, fire, the warmth, the metabolism, the digestion capacity of the body, uh, air, the movement of the body. Air is that which moves. Anything that moves, the brain is sending some signal to the hand, which is then causing the neurons to fire and the hands to move. This is the air element in activity in space. Channels. Your body is nothing but earth, water, and fire moving through channels of space. Same is true for every plant. Every plant is earth, water, fire, air, ether, in different proportions. You and I are different proportions. I may have more earth and water. You may have more air and ether. You may have more fire. I may have more water. Everyone is uniquely different. That's why nothing is perfect for everyone, but everything is perfect for someone. These are the basic foundational principles of Ayurveda. So you walk into a health food store and the marketing campaigns of all the different products are telling you this is the best, this is the best. Well, nothing is the best for everyone, but everything is the best for someone. And so what we're going to do is go into the how to understand what is the best for you. Now, of course, this is a much more in-depth science that we can't master in one class, let alone in 1 year. That's why so many people take that Ayurveda course we have over and over every year in order to, because then you go through a year of learning it, of just applying what you learned in the course, and then the next year you're going to metabolize it in a completely different way. So you have all of this. The plants have their unique constitution. You have your unique constitution. What we need to do is blend them so we find the right match. We're tapping the tip of the iceberg of this in-depth, sophisticated yet profoundly simple science. It's so sophisticated you can spend the rest of your life studying it and you will never reach the end, and it's so simple that I can teach it to my son since he's been about 5 years old, and he gets it because it's the science of what it means to be alive. It's the science of the human being. It's the science of nature itself. Okay, so this is supremely important to know that these 5 things are what are governing all of life. They call them the Panchamahabhuta, the great 5 elements. And as long as you're in a human body, you have to deal with those 5 elements. And as each one of these elements has a asset, and each one of these elements has a liability. So our goal in Ayurveda is to strengthen the asset of the element. Earth and water will give you strength and stability and vitality, or they can give you lethargy, obesity, sluggishness, diabetes, etc. There's either the asset or there's the liability. We want to reduce the liability and increase the asset. We want to increase the desirable expression of the element and decrease the undesirable suffering-causing quality of that element. This is the science of Ayurveda. This is what we're doing with our herbalism. Then you have on the other side air and ether. It can cause you great pranic energy, great life force, great sensitivity, great prayerful presence, or it can cause you worry, fear, anxiety, overwhelm. It can cause you good enthusiasm, or it can cause you chronic fatigue. Same element, different expression. We want to increase the asset, decrease its liability. If you are air person constitutionally, then you'll tend towards that type of a thing. So it'll become even more important for you. If you're a more earthy, watery type person, you want to, those are going to be the things that you have a definite tendency for in your life. Therefore, the types of herbs you're going to use in your life are the ones on a regular basis as part of a lifestyle, not just as some way of attacking a symptom, but proactively as part of a conscious lifestyle. You understand your constitution, so you put the herbs in place that are going to be best for you, and you use them regularly without even having to think about it, as a part of a lifestyle to keep you healthy for the long term. And then if you get sick, then we look at it and we can use the symptom, the awareness of the elements within the symptom to reduce the symptom and so forth. So we use them for both, primarily and most importantly as a part of a lifestyle for a good, beautiful, long life, God willing. And then when we do get sick, we use the same principles to treat the sickness. It's a beautiful science. Now, any of you who are listening today, if you have a medical condition, anything I'm going to say today in terms of suggestions for herbs, you need to check that with your physician, please, with your medical doctor. This is not meant to be a treatment for medical conditions. This is a teachings on holistic herbalism. And so please take everything and put it in the context of your life. Get recommendations, clear things. If you have any even slightest hesitation, check with your physician, please. And so there way in the middle you have fire. Fire is either going to give you good warmth, good energy, good radiance, the most subtle and most desirable quality of the fire element, or it can cause inflammation, it can cause burning, indigestion, it can cause anger and irritability. What are you going to have? Are you going to have the imbalanced or the undesirable expression of the fire element expressing itself through your body and your mind, or are you going to have the desirable quality, good warmth, good radiance, warmth of your heart, illumination, epiphany? You have to create the internal life force environment that will give you the asset of the elements and decrease their liability, because as long as you're in a human body, you have to deal with those 5 things: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And the science of Ayurveda is how to create the optimum environment for your body and mind so that the real you can come forth without being distorted by the imbalance or the afflicted or arrhythmic expression of the elements that then causes turbulence and obstructs your genuine, loving, true self to emerge. Simple, yeah? So there we are. That's the foundation for where we're starting. So now let's focus on super herbs of Ayurveda and what is going to what are our qualifications for these super herbs? So we have to go into how do we look at herbs in general. So stay with me here, because this is a beautiful, beautiful science of life, that if you learn this and you digest this, especially those of you who never heard this before, even this one class, if you really, all right, this is the time where you're going to start maybe taking some notes. It could change how you look at food, at herbs, at medicine in general forever. This simple formula I'm about to share with you. There's 4 qualities of every medicine. And in this case, now we're going contextualizing within herbs. There's 4 qualities into every herb. Okay? The 4 qualities are rasa, its taste; virya, its energy; vipak, its post-digestive effect; and then prabhav. Don't worry about that. I'm going to go through each one of these individually and I'll spell them out for you, but I'm not concerned whether you remember the Sanskrit terms. Don't worry about these Sanskrit terms. Get the big idea. The terms are secondary. So first is that every herb has a rasa, has a taste. Rasa is a word that means many, many things. Rasa means melody. Rasa means interest. If you have an interest in that thing, you have good rasa. It means juice. You have rasa. That he was a great technical musician, but he didn't have any rasa. He didn't have any juice. Or you say, oh, She may have not been the most technically proficient musician, but man, she had some rasa. She has some juice. Give me that one. And that's the power of rasa, and that's what the rasa of the herb is. The rasa is its taste. The rasa of the herb is its taste, or the food is its taste. And there's 6 tastes. There's 6 different tastes. Rasa is R-A-S-A, rasa. 6 tastes. You have sweet, salty, pungent, bitter, and astringent. I missed one. Sweet. Sorry. Sweet, sour, salty, pungent, bitter, and astringent. Okay, where do these 6 tastes come from? These 6 tastes come from the 5 elements. Why? Because earth and water are the elements of the sweet taste. So, if you're already a very earth and watery person, and then you eat lots and lots of earth and water, sweet stuff being, sugar, all this obviously sweet stuff, sugar, maple syrup, honey, sweeteners, all that type of thing, but also carbohydrates in general are sweet. You have a predominance of sweet tastes in your diet, and you're already earth and watery person, well, you're going to have the sweetness come and build and may get a little chubby, may have sweet problems or earth water problems, so that you'll start to get the liability of those 2 elements as opposed to their assets. Because in Ayurveda, you're antidoting what you already have a lot of. If you already have a lot of earth and water, you have plenty of it, so you have your potential liability is that too much earth and water is going to be your definite tendency. So that's the mindset of the Ayurvedic lifestyle. So sweet are the 2 elements, earth and water are the 2 elements of the sweet taste. Sour is of warming. Sour, you take a lemon or a lime. Just the great Dr. Lass said, even say the word lime 3 times, lime. Lime. It will cause your mouth to salivate. And what is in your saliva is the sour taste, salivary amylase. Most of the digestive enzymes, the higher hydrochloric acid, are sour in their taste. And so sour increases digestion. Sour. Sour, lime, sour. So the elements of the sour taste are earth and fire. So it's heavy, but it's warm. It's not as heavy as earth and water, which is sweet. And then you go to sweet, sour, salty. Salty is water and fire. You use salt to melt the ice on the road. So salt is also increases digestion, gives you zest for life, gives you if you add too much salt to the food, it ruins the meal. If you have no salt in the food, you can't taste. It brings out the flavor of everything, salt, and that's in both in your meal preparation as well as in life in general. A little bit of salt will bring the flavor, the zest out of everything. So you have fire and water make up the salty taste. All right, so we have sweet, earth and water, sour, fire and earth, salty, fire and water, and sweet, sour, salty, pungent. Pungent's like spicy, like black pepper, like cayenne pepper, that type of spicy. Fire and air. So it's drying, it's very light, and it's very potent and very fiery. And so if you're a fiery person like me and you put a whole bunch of pungent, fiery tastes in your body, you'll get too much fire and you'll get the boom, explosive liability of fire, anger, inflammation, burning digestion. But if you just use the right amount, everybody needs all 6 tastes. That's the amazing thing of this. In the American diet, we have very little of bitter taste, for instance. And so we don't get it. And the only bitter foods are like the garnish, the little parsley on the sides in the standard American diet. So we have to have bitter, we have to have pungent, we have to have sweet, sour, salty, all 6 tastes, astringent, all 6 tastes. But not in equal proportions, based on the proportions that are perfect for you. So here we go. And this is, stay with me. Anything's going over your head, just say whatever. And just keep staying with me. We're going to have fun with it. So we have sweet, sour, salty, pungent, it's fire and air, bitter, air and ether, the most subtle of all the tastes. Too much bitter, you'll vomit. but just the right amount, it'll make everything taste better. That's why people get addicted to coffee. Is this we don't have bitters, so they take coffee as the only bitter in their lives. And so integrating some I'm gonna give you in just a little bit my very favorite bitter to integrate into your life with profound benefit. But there's so many bitters you can use. Dandelion, it's almost springtime. Lord, in Northern California where I am, are we anticipating and looking forward to springtime, where the dandelion comes up in the backyard, and you can have roast toasted dandelion tea in the springtime, and then you can have your wheatgrass and all that stuff. Is this the earthy, watery time of year? That's the time for good bitters. This is the way Ayurveda thinks. This is a complete, huge science. That's why my wish is you'll join us for learn the full art of Ayurveda. And that's when it profoundly changes your life. And so finally we have astringent, which is earth and air. And turmeric is astringent, or astringents are like a persimmon where it's not quite ripe and makes you go kind of like puckers. That's what it does to your whole body. It tonifies it. Like, you eat something like very astringent, it gives you that face. And that's what it does when it goes into your body. It tightens the tissue, it heals tissue layers, and every one of these tastes has its healing properties and then its potential problems if we have too much of it or too little of it. And so you have sweet, which gives you contentment. You take a little sweet on your tongue. I feel content. But you can't, it's superficial contentment. You cannot gain sustainable contentment, deep fulfillment through sugar, through sweet taste. You have to create a much deeper sweetness, which I'm going to get to in just a minute. If you try to do it through just sweet taste, you'll end up with a very bitter result, such as diabetes. So, sour, the right amounts, increases digestion, increases metabolism. Too much will create inflammation. So people who take excess fermented foods, all fermented foods are sour. Alcohol, sour, and sugary. So you get these people who have this red, puffy, inflamed faces, inflamed body from too much consumption of beer and alcohol. It's all over the place. You just go to anywhere in middle America and you'll find that. And so these are how the tastes end up totally manipulating the human organism, so then you no longer have your willpower, you no longer have the ability for it to consciously navigate the life, because the whole organism has become so discontented and so disrupted due to these fluctuations and these overuses of some tastes and not getting the other tastes. And it's just one aspect of it, but it's a very important aspect of it. When the body becomes discontent, then it goes outside of itself to try and find contentment. We become addicted to things. We become addicted to foods. And so we have to have foods that are extremely tasteful in often synthetic ways, because our digestive system is so poor. The taste of a food is not in the food. The taste of the food is in your digestive power, in your agni. And so that's why when you're really hungry, really good digestion, the simplest things taste wonderful. And people who have very poor digestion, they need foods like Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's and all these types of things, these highly synthesized foods that give it such a powerful taste. So something tastes good to them. But if you have really good digestion and you taste something like that, it's repulsive. And so this is the science. Sour, a little bit of sour increases digestion. And salty, a little bit of salty increases digestion. It gives you good hydration. Too much, though, will dry you out. If you have too much salt, like potato chips, it's the antagonist of vitality, but just the right amount will give you good moisturization, which is needed for vitality. So these are the 6 tastes, and that is the rasa. That's the first of the 4. Rasa, every herb has its taste. Every herb has its rasa. It's sweet, sour, salty, pungent, bitter, and astringent. And of course, most herbs are a combination. Okay, it's primarily sweet, secondary, sour, something like that. And we're going to go into the rasa of several different herbs here in just a moment. But first we have to understand what is the second qualification of every herb, the second quality of every herb. We need to understand to really have a comprehensive idea of, is this going to be good for me? We need to understand its energy, its virya. Its virya, and its energy is in. I'm going to keep things simple. There's more to this, but for the purposes here, I'm going to keep it practical and simple. Its virya is it going to cool your body down, or is it going to heat it up? It's going to cool the organism down, or is it going to heat it up? If it cools, it kind of constricts the channels of the body, decreases digestion. If it's hot or warming, it opens, dilates the channels, and increases digestion. When I say digestion, I just don't mean in the gut, but digestion is, that's what your human organism is. It's a metabolic organism. It's digesting the things that I am saying right now. It's coming in through your senses, through the eyes and into the ears. Then it's being metabolized inside and then assimilated, and then it'll have some impact on your life, and hopefully a positive one. So digestion is happening at all times in various levels through the five senses. And that's what we mean by increasing digestion, decreasing digestion, not just in the digestive system of the body. So the virya is its energy. Is it heating or is it cooling? If you're a hot person, then if you have too much hot herbs with hot viryas, then you are playing with fire, quite literally. And if you tend to be cold and you put a lot more cold, then there's going to be eventually a problem there. So this is the consciousness and the awareness that we're applying to our lives. And at first, when you're learning it as a student, it can seem really complicated and, oh, so many moving pieces. But trust me, once you learn it and you play around with it and you have fun with it, and you don't make too big of a deal with it because you've been doing just fine anyways. But now what we're doing is refining and fine-tuning. Maybe you haven't been doing just fine. Maybe you've been suffering quite a bit. Then you apply these types of things, and things start to click. You start to get results. Finally, something's starting to change here. Basic principles of life, profound effect. So you play with it. You learn it. That's why I say then you apply it to your life. Then go back and take the course again. And then now I'm digesting at a whole nother level, to the point now where I got up and made my breakfast. I'm using all of these principles and the herbs I'm using as the seasons change and as I'm in different periods of my life. All these principles are always in play, and then you almost not even thinking about it anymore because it's just so natural and so real and so effective that it metabolizes into a whole consciousness, a whole beautiful art of using spices with your food and using different herbs and putting it together as like a masterpiece of your life. That's what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to master this stuff so you can enjoy it in your life, so your family can learn and benefit from it, so your children can learn these types of things. So we have rasa, virya, and the third one is vipak. What is its post-digestive effect? And its post-digestive effect, any herb's post-digestive effect, what that means is it going to have a purifying effect on your body? Is it going to be catabolic, meaning is it going to purify tissue? Or is it going to be more anabolic? Is it going to strengthen the tissue in some shape, way, or form? Because as we'll get to in a moment, every herb has a different affinity towards different tissue systems and organ systems of your body. Powerful. The vipak, let's stay with that for just a moment, because this is, if you're not familiar with this, it may be a very foreign concept, but it's quite simple. Everything, you have an initial taste, sweet, sour, salty, and that's going to have a definite effect on the chemistry of your body, on the biochemistry of the body and of the mind, based on the rasa, its initial effect. Okay, and then it has its virya. Is it going to heat up or cool down the body, the organism and the mind? You know, if you're already irritable and angry and then you put some hot on top of that, it's going to exasperate it. So you got to cool it down in the right way. And so then, after that herb is initially digested and it's metabolized into the deeper tissue layers of the body, it's going to have a post-digestive effect on the various tissue layers of your body. And is it going to have a strengthening effect or a purifying effect? We need both at different times. In general, what we want to do is strengthen and strengthen and strengthen. But we have to periodically cleanse and purify in order to make sure that we have the good enough metabolism to digest those herbs and foods that have the strengthening vipak. And you know what the language that we use to define whether something has a strengthening effect or a purifying vipak, post-digestive effect? Vipak is V-I-P-A-K. Virya is V-I-R-Y-A. The language we use to describe vipak is that does it have a sweet vipak, means it's ultimately strengthening, or does it have a pungent vipak, which means it's ultimately purifying? All right. Now, this is a beautiful thing, as I was saying just a moment ago. If you just try to give yourself contentment, which sometimes we do, we get lonely, and because we're lonely, we eat sweet foods and try to antidote our loneliness, and it might work temporarily. So what we're really trying to do is not focus on a sweet rasa, meaning sweet initial taste, but we want the sweet vipak. We want our long-term vitality. We want the deeper sweetness is what the goal of Ayurveda is, and that is both on the basic physical level. The sweetness creates strength, stamina, stability, vitality, gives good immunity, good health, good vitality to your organs so that they operate efficiently and without dis-ease. Not talking about sweet taste in terms of its initial taste. I'm talking about the deeper sweetness when you use all of the tastes together to create the net gain, the net effect of sweetness, of deeper sweetness, sweet vipak. Are you following me here? I hope you're following me. Let it sink in. When you create that on the physical, you get vitality. When you create it on the mental, you give stability to your mind, which gives you contentment. When you're contentment, you're no longer when you're content, you no longer have that low-grade insecurity that's always causing you to manipulate environments and to go outside of yourself and try to find a fulfillment. You already have it, so you can just be you without any facade, without any sales pitch. You just be yourself. That's the sweet vipak at the level of the psyche. And then at the level of your spirituality, the sweet vipak, the sweetness, the deeper sweetness will give you bliss. Will give you the deepest, the most subtle form of sweetness. That's where all this ultimately is moving, is we use Ayurveda in order to support yoga. Yoga means the path of heightening awareness, the path of spiritual blissfulness. And so that's where all of us, you can't find me a person, we may not use the word yoga, we may not use any of that type of word, but there's not a person on the planet who doesn't want bliss, that doesn't want to experience the supreme love, the love that never dies. And that's the ultimate goal of Ayurveda, it's the ultimate goal of herbalism, of Ayurvedic herbalism, of life. So those are the first three, and then we have the Prabhav, P-R-A-B-H-A-V. The Prabhav, stay with me here, the Prabhav is the special effect of the herb. Everything has a special effect. So this herb has an affinity for the lungs. It gives strength to the lungs, or it clears mucus out of the lungs, or this herb strengthens your adrenals. How does the herb know how to do that? Well, guess what? Bacteria also have a Prabhav. Bacteria and viruses have affinity for your lungs, or bacteria has affinity for your liver or your digestive system. So do plants and herbs, and so you need to use the right herb that has the affinity for the right organ and the right tissue layer for whatever it is you're trying to do, whatever your goal is. So the herb's Prabhav is the special effect, and this is what's mostly focused on in herbalism in general, especially if you go into a herb store or you're looking at different herbal products. Mostly what you're going to find is the Prabhav. This herb is famous for doing such and such in such and such situations. So some herbs are going to have a prabhav for increasing semen production and an aphrodisiac. Some herbs are going to have a prabhav for giving calmness to the nervous system, which allows a person to sleep more deeply. Some herbs are going to have a prabhav for cooling down the irritated, fiery digestive system. Some herbs are going to stimulate the digestive system, but different herbs have affinities for different organs and different tissue layers. In the pranic life force, intelligence of the plant. Amazing. The intelligence of the plant creates the special effect in the body and the mind. Certain herbs have special spiritual prabhavs, and those are a couple that I'm going to talk about in just a moment, because we're almost there. We're almost there. And now we've gone through the 4 primary qualities of the herbs, and there's a 5th quality, special quality, that I'm going to go into in just a moment, that in my opinion is the supreme qualification of an herb. But first, now we're to the point where we can define what I am calling a so-called super herb, which is a fun way essentially of really dialing in, first of all, creating a window for us to now understand how to look at herbs, which is what we're doing and we've done, and now what makes certain herbs perhaps in this context superb. I won't say superior, because that really it just depends on how we're looking at it, but amazing, superb, phenomenal, so valuable to human life and to life in general, not just human life. So here it is. So for instance, in general, a herb with a sweet taste, sweet rasa, usually has a cooling energy, a cooling virya, and will have a sweet vipak, a more anabolic, strengthening effect. So take licorice, for instance. Licorice is sweet to the taste, and it's cooling to the body, and then it has a sweet vipak, and then it has some very beautiful prabhavs for the respiratory system and for the digestive system and for the mind. So this is a very common thing that you'll see. This is in general, herbs that are sweet in their taste will be cooling in their energy and sweet in their post-digestive effect. Are you with me? That's in general, that's the trend. Let me take a sip, which happens to have some licorice in it. The sour herbs tend to have sour rasa, will have a warming energy, and will either have a strengthening or purifying vipak, often strengthening vipak because it's earth and fire. So that's the general trend for a sour rasa. An herb with a salty will tend to be salty, warming, sweet, or meaning strengthening vipak. An herb that is pungent, hot, spicy, ginger, cayenne, things like that, will tend to be, it's pungent, heating, so as opposed to warming, it's hot, heating, and purifying, post-digestive, cleansing, post-digestive effect. Herbs that are, where are we? Sweet, salty, sour, pungent, bitter. Air ether will be bitter taste. Cool. Bitter herbs are cooling to the body and will have a purifying post-digestive effect. If you have dandelion root, for instance, or dandelion leaf, you have a bitter herb. It's going to have a definite cooling effect to purify the blood, purify the liver, but it has a catabolic, a purifying effect on the organism. So is dandelion's going to be very good for certain things, purification, but if you took too much of it, it would deplete you and it would make you too cold, and depending on your constitution. So it's not something we would use consistently for a long period of time, because in general we're trying to strengthen and we're purifying in periodically in order to maintain the ability to strengthen good, powerful digestion. Making sense? And then you have astringent, which tends to be cooling and also purifying. So So these are the general patterns that you find in most herbs. So the first qualification of our super herbs is you'll get a unusual pattern of rasa, virya, vipak. And and the second quality of our super herbs is you're going to have an unusually wide spectrum of prabhavs, of benefits. So whereas most herbs have a few really excellent specialized uses, these super herbs in some cases can be like panaceas in and of themselves. They have so many benefits, so many uses, and this is why they're so revered in India and in anywhere where they're utilized, because they're just so darn helpful to people and they alleviate so much suffering from people's lives. So, shall we go into the herbs? That is the first. Those are the first two qualifications. Now, the third qualification I'll get to in just a moment, which is also the fifth supreme qualification of herbs that I mentioned previously. That creating a suspense here. So the first herb I want to talk to you about is ashwagandha. And ashwagandha has the rasa, its taste is bitter, astringent, and with a little sweet, which all three of those are cooling tastes, bitter, astringent, sweet, but its virya is warming. And its post-digestive effect, bitter, astringent, typically have a purifying post-digestive effect, but in ashwagandha's case, it has a sweet, a strengthening post-digestive effect. In fact, it's among the most supreme tonic, rejuvenative herbs. I took a ton of it this morning. A ton of it meaning about a tablespoon. So not a ton of it. I took a good dose of it this morning, as I do most mornings through the winter time season for me. And it's something I recommend for most people in the wintertime season, is ashwagandha. Incredible herb, tridoshic in moderate doses, meaning everyone can use it in moderate doses. People who tend to be vata constitution, air, ethery type people, lighter type people, lighter bone people, people who have a hard time putting on weight, ashwagandha is your best friend. It's an amazing herb. It'll give you energy during the day. Take it in the morning. It'll help you go to sleep at night. Put a teaspoon of ashwagandha in some warm half cup of milk, half cup of water. Maybe add a little maple syrup to it. Maybe a touch of rose water, and take that before bedtime, and you'll sleep deeply. Wake up refreshed in the morning. An incredible herb, has so many uses. We can't go into all of them here, but if you use ashwagandha consistently over the years, not necessarily without breaks, but say you're using it fairly consistently over the years, it's going to give you a calm, grounded quality to your presence, to your thinking, to your life. People who are suffering from a lot of insecurity, a lot of worrying, and these types of things, profound chronic worrying, anxiety, things such as that, if you use ashwagandha, and if you take a good amount of it, say like a good tablespoon every morning, some people will even do 2 tablespoons, and you do that for a few weeks, you'll get that insecurity, that worrying tendency will slowly start to dissipate. Now, you can't take ashwagandha once and expect all this, because these things are happening. These types of herbs, sweet vipak, tonic herbs, rejuvenative herbs, they work by you using them consistently over longer periods of time. It's not like a cayenne pepper where you take it in and boom, you got the effect right away. It's pungent, it's hot, and it's going to have an immediate effect. Ashwagandha, you may get some immediate effect, but its most powerful and most profound effects are going to happen by you using them consistently over time. So if you're a type of a person that tends towards worry, that tends towards anxiety, that tends towards fatigue, that tends towards all those types of colder things, then use ashwagandha as a regular part of your lifestyle. Again, it's anti-stress. It is a longevity herb. And if you look at it, again, most herbs, such as licorice, is also rejuvenative, anti-stress, anti-aging. But licorice and many of these sweet rejuvenative herbs are much harder to metabolize, but here we have ashwagandha, is bitter, astringent, sweet rasa, but it has this nice warming virya, so it's much easier for the body to metabolize, and it gives the body warmth which it needs for its longevity, not hot, but just a nice subtle warmth. It will not upset your fire energy, fiery people, unless really taken excessively in the summer months. So pretty much everybody can take ashwagandha in the winter months, especially once it hits spring. Especially if you're a heavier type person, that's when you would stop taking ashwagandha. Now, here's that fifth quality, and what we're going to really look at that finishes up and completes our qualifications for our super herbs, is ashwagandha is also highly sattvic. So herbs are either going to be sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic. And don't worry about the terminology again, just get the bigger idea. If a herb is sattvic, it's going to give you clarity to the mind. It's going to purify the channels of the body, including the most important channels of the body, which are your subtle pranic channels, so for your life force energy to flow. When you're using sattvic herb and sattvic foods, it gives clarity to the mind. It gives clarity and lightness to the body. Lightness in the subtle way. So ashwagandha actually will give you grounded quality to your body. It's not a light herb, so to speak, but its ultimate effect, because of its highly sattvic nature, is it's going to be conducive for spiritual evolution. And so every one of our super herbs has to have that final qualification of sattvic. If a herb is tamasic, such as, say, valerian, even marijuana has tamasic qualities to it. It has its longer term effect has a dulling quality to the mind, a dulling quality to the body. Things like, that's why vegetarian diet is encouraged in the yogic tradition, because of the sattvic nature of that type of a diet, and so forth. So this is that final quality that we're looking for our super herbs. And we have in ashwagandha an unusual pattern. I haven't even really touched on the many uses of ashwagandha in terms of its effect on the muscle tissue. It's an aphrodisiac, so especially as a man is getting older, it's a rejuvenative herb for the sexual system of the man. It's also beneficial for the woman. So if the man is wanting to have sexual stamina into the later years of life, ashwagandha is supreme for that. So we can get into the many effects, and we do that much more in the complete course of Ayurveda. There's many books you can get, but it's a very famous herb, very easy to find information on it. I recommend for all these herbs using Banyan Botanicals. What I do is I just buy the big bag of ashwagandha. I put a tablespoon of it and I mix it with just a little bit of yogurt. I add a touch of maple syrup and I eat it in the morning. No big deal. Tastes quite all right to me. And I do that all winter long. And I encourage you to do that too. Next herb is amla, or amalaki. And the next three herbs we're going to be talking about are the three herbs that make up the compound, the most famous of the Ayurvedic formulas, called triphala. And triphala is, you can find in probably every health food store nowadays. And you can take it in capsules, or you can take it in the powder form. It's a acquired taste, especially if it's your first time. Some people have a hard time with the taste of triphala. But the first herb, triphala, means tri, three, and phala, fruits. It's three fruits. And so let's break it down, because many of you have heard of triphala. But what I'm hoping to do is to unpack why these herbs are so special and so effective, and so that you'll have more inspiration and motivate to take triphala regularly. Because I was saying earlier, the ability for you to have good vitality long term in your life is absolutely dependent on your ability to digest life, to digest food, and to digest life. And Triphala is the supreme herb formula to use that almost everyone can use, taken after dinner, before bed, in order to have a good elimination in the morning. So that's its most famous primary prabhav effect, is its laxative. All three of these next three herbs have a laxative effect, and in Triphala we're putting all three together. So I want to Triphala does many, many other things, but the reason why it's so phenomenal is most herbs, such as say black pepper, ginger, they increase digestion, and they purify the tissue layers of the digestive system to keep toxins out of the digestive system. But they're purifying in their long-term effect, whereas Triphala does that same thing. It works in a very different way. You wouldn't take Triphala before a meal to stimulate digestion, because Triphala is a rejuvenative. It's anti-aging. You want to have beautiful skin. You want to have a beautiful luster to your hair. You want to have all these beautiful things. Triphala is amazing for that type of thing. It's a rejuvenative herb that gently increases your digestive capacity when used regularly over time. It's tridoshic, as you'll see in a moment, because our first herb in the Triphala formula is amla, which means sour. Amalaki, it means sour. Now, amalaki, same herb, it is predominantly sour, but it includes all the other tastes as well, except for salt. So it's all the tastes. And remember that in order for a person to have, and let's say it this way, in order for your organism, your body and mind to have contentment, it needs all six tastes. And in this one herb, you have amla, you're getting 5 of the 6 tastes. All the tastes except for salty. Salty is being really the antagonist of your long-term rejuvenation, so this is why it's such a powerful herb. But it's predominantly sour, hence the name amla means sour. And it is the highest natural source of vitamin C, about 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C per fruit. So when you're using this, you're getting the dried fruit that is made into a powder. It improves your appetite, it cleanses the intestines, it regulates blood sugar. It is perhaps the best Ayurvedic herb for preserving youthfulness. It's, once again, highly sattvic in quality. It's said, the lore of Ayurveda is it gives good fortune, it gives love and longevity. It itself, the amla tree, is a very long life living tree. It's supreme herb for the bones, the hair, the teeth, the nail, and of course the digestion. And it's a profound rejuvenative, and the most profound rejuvenative for fiery type people such as myself, pitta type people. Because why? Sour, its primary taste is sour, and sour is usually heating. But here's our unusual patterns of quality. Amla's cooling, has a cooling effect. And usually cooling things decrease digestion, but in amla's case, amalaki's case, it increases your digestion. So you're increasing your digestion, but it has a cooling virya. So that is why it is so valuable, so unique, and so wonderful for fiery type people, pitta type people. Many of you I can't even see you, but I know there is a high percentage of pitta type people listening to this, because pitta type people are the people who love to learn and study things. So amla is sour, but so people, and the pitta people can have a hard time regulating their digestion because they have very good digestion in general, but over time it can become poor, and yet if you add too much fire to it, you provoke the pitta quality, which causes inflammation or burning digestion or irritability. So here, if you take amalaki regularly as part of your lifestyle, and inside of Triphala most likely, you're going to have this way of keeping your digestive healthy, keeping your fire down, and its vipak, its post long-term effect, is it is sweet. It gives nurturance. It nourishes your tissue layers. It nourishes your bones. It nourishes your mind. It's an amazing herb. That's amalaki. It's a supreme pitta herb. The second herb in Triphala is haritaki. And haritaki, if you've ever seen depictions of the medicine Buddha in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, the medicine Buddha is holding a little plant in his hand, and that plant is haritaki. Haritaki is predominantly astringent, but it has all the other tastes except for salty again. So here again, you have haritaki, all the tastes but salty. It's astringent, which is typically a cooling taste, and it heals the tissue layers. But in haritaki's case, it's heating. It's heating, and its post-digestive effect. Astringent usually creates a purifying effect. Its post-digestive effect is its nurturing, it's rejuvenative, it's building, it's good for everyone, haritaki, but it's supremely good for vata. And it is among the most important of all the herbs. It is the supreme vata-reducing herb, and vata is considered the king of all disease because vata is motion. And all of us, regardless of our constitution, we are in motion. We are constantly aging. We are constantly thinking. And the key quality of a beautiful, loving, contented life is when the mind slows down, the nervous slows down, and the real, genuine you emerges out. Haritaki is called the destroyer of disease because it carries away all disease. Hari, it means God. Haritaki. And it is sacred in the Indian mythology to Lord Shiva. It promotes fearlessness on the mental level. It feeds your brain and your nerves. It imparts the energy of Shiva, which is pure awareness. It regulates your colon, which is the seat of vata. So the vata is the seat of all disease, and the colon is the seat of vata. This is why so much emphasis is put first among everything else is on your large intestines, your colon. And haritaki is the best herb. Again, it's a laxative, but these amalaki, haritaki, they're not habit-forming laxatives. You can take triphala, and then you come off triphala, and you're eliminating beautifully well. You eliminate within the first hour of the day. That's the goal. And so when you take these herbs, you're not creating a habit-forming laxative such as most all other laxatives will do. They'll create a habit where you need to use the herbs to keep eliminating. No, you have the first elimination of the day within the first hour of waking. Within 30 minutes, you feel hungry, your mind feels clear, and you're ready for a beautiful day because you have a big mission in your life. You have big work to do today. You have a lot of loving to do today, and you need a clear mind and a healthy body. This is why haritaki, amalaki, increases wisdom, increases intelligence. And then the third herb in triphala is bibitaki. Bibitaki is the supreme rejuvenative for kapha. So you have amalaki, supreme rejuvenative for pitta people, haritaki, supreme rejuvenative for vata people, bibitaki, supreme rejuvenative for kapha people. All three of those go together. You're covering all 5 elements every day. Every evening, you're taking triphala to give yourself good digestive capacity, good clarity of the mind, and you're using it as a lifestyle medicine, a lifestyle asset in order to promote your longevity, promote your vitality. We all have so much potential stress in our lives. We need these special, rejuvenative, powerful herbs that are highly sattvic, giving us clarity of mind, clarity of body, so that we can keep going, so that we can do what we came here to do. Regardless of the stress, that stress will act as a catalyst to more vitality because we're using the herbs to create the condition, the internal life force condition that turns our life into beauty, turns our life into artistry. And these herbs are our allies. They are our assets for that. And so bibitaki is astringent as well, but it's also heating, like haritaki, and it has a sweet vipak, and it's a rejuvenative for kapha. And so it's a beautiful, beautiful herb. And all 3 of these are what create the very, very famous Ayurvedic compound called triphala. It is hard for some people to taste, but it's more beneficial to taste it. So if you put a teaspoon in some hot water and you stir that up in a cup of water, and then you take that an hour or 2 before bed, and you time it, adjust your timing so where you're eliminating first thing in the morning or you can use just capsules. Maybe start with 2 or 3 capsules, and then you find the right dose. Everybody's a little different. Find the right dose. If you find it's not working, then combine it with some sort of a demulcent, moisturizing herb such as slippery elm, or licorice, in order to, for Vata people, if you tend to be dry, constipated, sometimes you need to add a little moisture to your triphala in order to get its elimination effects and for you to really get the benefits of triphala. So use the capsules, or you can use the powder. There's lots of great ways to use triphala. We talk a lot more about it in the complete course of Ayurveda. And then we have my very favorite herb. We're just going to do a couple more and bring it all together here. My very, very, very favorite herb is Brahmi. And this is what I'm drinking right now in this tea. And Brahmi is a bitter herb. That's what I was referencing earlier. It's bitter. It is cooling, but most bitter herbs have a purifying vipak. Brahmi has a sweet vipak. It is the most important nervine herb in Ayurvedic medicine. It's been used for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years, by yogis to improve meditation. It is perhaps among the most sattvic herbs. It's a deeply spiritual herb. It gives you great awareness. It has a awakening effect on your crown chakra, on your center, your 10th gate, they call it. You have 9 primary gates, 9 holes, 2 eyes, mouth, 2 ears, the elimination hole, etc. 9 holes. But then the yogis, the mystics, talk about the 10th gate, which is the 10th gate, which is at the crown of the head, and it's subtle. It's not a physical gate. It's a subtle gate where you connect to the supreme awareness. And Brahmi is in support of that connectivity. It is revitalizing to your brain cells. It balances the brain hemispheres. It rejuvenates the nervous system. It purifies the blood, and yet it has a sweet vipak. It has rejuvenative effects on the liver, so you can use Brahmi long term without having, most bitters you don't want to use long term, but Brahmi is a beautiful bitter. I combine it with a little bit of licorice. I'll put, say, 1 part ginger, 1 part licorice, and then 4 parts Brahmi in all the powders, and I mix it, and I take a teaspoon in some hot water, and I'll drink it in the morning before I meditate, while I'm teaching. These types of things. It's your immune system. Incredible, beautiful herb. My favorite herb. And Brahmi means to know Brahma, to know God, essentially, is what Brahmi means. Incredible herb. Unique qualities, unique pattern of characteristics. It's profoundly rejuvenative, has a wide spectrum of benefits, of prabhavs, of special effects. I've only talked about a few here, but it's what I'm zeroing in with all these herbs for time's sake for today is it's their most famous special effect. Most important special effect, has a wide spectrum of benefits, and of course has our final most important quality, extremely sattvic, conducive for awareness. And so, like, on a spiritual level, that's really important for refinement. But what about somebody suffering from addiction? Brahmi is an incredible herb to put into place as a part of their lifestyle. You could even just take capsules of Brahmi you can get from Banyan Botanicals. Brahmi, if you were to take it, will start to increase the awareness. When awareness increases, you start to gradually, over time, now it has to be taken consistently over time, you have and it's giving you that sweet vipak, so it's giving you deeper contentment, more awareness, and it's used over time in very subtle and very powerful ways. And so all of a sudden, you become aware of what you really are. You're less dependent and less have the urge to go outside of yourself to find contentment. It may not do it on its own, depending on how powerful the addiction is. But for addictive tendencies, any bit of help you can get, you want. Anyone who suffered from addiction knows that any bit of help you can get, you want. Brahmi is incredible. Take Brahmi. It's a beautiful herb, and it's a especially incredible herb for Pitta people. It's good for the hair. It's good for the skin. Amazing herb. Last one I'm going to talk about today. I think I had a few more I want to talk about, but I've been having so much fun teaching you guys that the time is just going. And I want to. There's one other final, to me, the most important thing I want to talk to you about in just a few moments. So I want to get through these couple of herbs. At least one more. Which one will we do? I think we have to do it, even though it's maybe the most well-known of these herbs. It's something we can't overlook, and that's turmeric. Turmeric's bitter, astringent, and although usually bitter astringents are cooling, turmeric is heating, and turmeric has a pungent vipak, so it is purifying, but not incredibly purifying. The thing about turmeric, and the reason why I include it here as our super herb, is its wide spectrum of benefits are perhaps larger than any other. The question with turmeric is not what it does, it's like what does it not do. And really what it is it's our premier anti-inflammatory herb. And if you go deep into, what are human beings suffering with more than anything right now, there's two primary things. It's unsettled minds and bodies that are inflamed. And so turmeric is really the great tridoshic, pretty much good for everyone, works on all tissues of the body, works on all the elements, natural antibiotic, natural anti-inflammatory, and at the same time it's antibiotic, but it strengthens your digestion. Not only purifies the blood, but it warms the blood. Most bitters cool down the blood, but it warms the blood, improves your circulation. Many people don't know this about turmeric, but one of the reasons turmeric's so revered by yogis is because it has the effect of nadi shodhana, meaning it purifies the nadis, the subtle channels through which your prana flows, and increases pranic circulation in the body. It's great for your tendons, ligaments, and joints, which is why yogis have used it for asana purposes. Turmeric is, if you have to kind of isolate one herb that if you couldn't take any other herb that you might consider taking, turmeric may win that every time because it just does so much. And so in terms of keeping your digestion healthy, your inflammation down, the tissues healthy and clear, metabolizing well, antibiotic, keeping colds and flus away, turmeric is incredible. Repairs, because it has that astringent, it's excellent at repairing tissue. So if you have that lingering cough going on, damage to the respiratory system, irritated cough, using turmeric with some honey, stirring up some turmeric and honey and taking that together, you can take quite a bit of it without it causing any issues at all. And I like to take a good tablespoon of it per day. That's quite a bit. You don't have to take that much to get the effect. One of the most important benefits of turmeric that has come to light in more recent years, at least in the Western world, is its effect on the nervous system, and particularly is its effect on, and seemingly very positive effect on dementia. And most everyone at this point knows someone or has someone close to them who's suffering from dementia. Now, turmeric's not something where you're necessarily going to be able to give turmeric to someone who's already suffering with dementia, and I would do that, but it's not like you take it and then all of a sudden the dementia goes away. But it's something we should be taking, really all of us, to keep the inflammation of the nervous system down, to keep cooling so we don't get that long-term inflammatory effect that then damages the nerves over long periods of time. And then in the older age, we're experiencing that kind of decay of the nervous system, which then creates all the challenges that come along with the dementia type disorders. So, and that goes with all these. What we're looking at them primarily in this class, while they're very much, you can use Ayurvedic herbalism for symptomology, what we're looking at it here for is like, these are the things we should be doing all the time. So for right now, but also so that when we get into the elder years of our lives, or those of us who are already in the elder years of our lives, we have good vitality. It's not what we do today affects today as much as what we do today affects tomorrow. What we do today and day after day will affect next year and 10 years down the road and 20 years down the road. I feel like I'm talking with people with great foresight and with great vision. And if you look very closely to most of our problems in our own personal inside of us, very close to the root of those problems, you'll find the desire of instant gratification. And so if you can shift your perspective of life and look to the long term, it'll affect your today. That's the catch-22. When you start to become a long-term oriented person, a big vision-oriented person, your short-term will improve automatically. It's the catch-22. If you're always focused on your short-term, always trying to improve your short-term, it doesn't work. And both your short-term and your long-term suffers. So Ayurveda is all about looking at longevity. It's the path of the rasa. Rasayana means the path of rejuvenation, the path of rasa, the path of the six tastes. How do you turn six tastes into one taste? You turn those six tastes of sweet, salty, sour, bitter, astringent, pungent into one deeper taste of sweetness. You create fulfillment within the organism, contentment within the mind. And that, my friends, is the key to the happy life. And when you create contentment in your organism, contentment of the mind, organically, automatically, you will do what you were born to do. You will do what you were born to do. Love is the result. Sustainable contentment is the result. That is the path of Ayurveda. And that's why, really, to really get this, I want to encourage you to take the deep dive, because when we're teaching Ayurveda, it's not about, okay, here's a few herbs. You can take these herbs. But what's going to be most powerful to you, and what I wanted to do with this class, and what we definitely do in the complete course of Ayurveda, is for you to learn the science. Not because you want to become a practitioner, but because you want to understand your own body and your own life, and how to turn your life and use food and use herbs and use all of life as an art, to become a master of the art of life. That's what Ayurveda is about. For those of us who practice it as yogis, who practice it as everyday people, looking to experience what genuine contentment, what genuine fulfillment is all about. You have to make the body satisfied. The body isn't satisfied. The mind isn't satisfied. It takes a hold of you. You lose your willpower, and it goes out and it tries to find it outside of you. And it's always a losing battle to find satisfaction from the outside. That's why, regardless of our better intentions, it's not about learning new herbs, so to speak, because there's 1,000 herbs we could take. There's hundreds of different great things we know that if we did for ourselves, our lives would be better. But regardless of our better intentions, we keep doing the same stuff over and over, because the willpower and the intention is being hijacked by the deeper subconscious dissatisfaction. Ayurveda is the science of antidoting that deeper internal dissatisfaction, providing that deeper sweet vipak, the sweetness inside the tissue of the body. Give the sweetness to the mind by using the simple science of life. We focused in today on just herbs, but the principles of life, we've just only touched the surface layer. It's, as you can see now, sophisticated, but it's also quite simple. Not difficult to understand. Takes some repetition. That's why we created the complete course of Ayurveda, because you can take the modules, 8 of them, and they build upon each other. The first module builds upon the second. You're getting deep into the cosmology of Ayurveda and yogic insights and the path of enlightenment, and how that builds into then the 5 elements. The 5 elements give rise to the 3 doshas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. You discover and discern what is my constitution, what is my tendencies, and what is my potentiality for imbalance, or if I am imbalanced, how am I going to bring it back into the center? And then that goes into Dravya Guna, the great science of using medicine as human beings, using the 5 tastes, the 5 elements, the 6 tastes, and using them as an alchemist of life to create deep sweetness, prabhav, and then vipak. And then you go into Food is medicine. Then you go into herbalism as medicine. Then you go into the lifestyle. How are you using sounds and colors and all the senses in order to create the internal condition that produces vitality. Because, friends, stress is not going away. The world is not becoming less tumultuous anytime soon. So we have to create the type of vitality, the type of awareness that allows us to turn that stress into more vitality. And the pain in life becomes more love. The sweetness, the suffering in life causes more sweetness. Either your depression can become devotion. Your anger can become illumination. Your worries and fears can become prayers. That is when you create the internal condition that gives you the assets of the elements and decreases their liabilities. That's what this is about. That's what Ayurveda is about. That's what the complete course of Ayurveda is about. And that's what I want to invite you to join me for. And for those of you who've taken the Super Herbs of Ayurveda webinar, we're offering that complete course of Ayurveda to you right now. And you can get in. And once you get the course, it is yours. You have lifetime access. There's, like I mentioned, 8 modules. They're all about an hour to an hour and a half a piece. You can download the videos or stream them online. You have the audio version that you can download if you'd rather listen to them in your car or while out hiking or riding your bike. It's incredibly accessible. And again, you have it's yours for life. So we have many people that take it once, and then maybe a few months later or a year later, they'll take it again, and they'll tell us, wow, it's like taking it for the first time all over again. So we want it to be a lifetime asset for you, something that will serve you, something that will absolutely, if you take it, and if you, of course, apply what you learn in it, it will change your life. And if for any reason you get the course and you decide it's not for you, you just let our team know. You shoot them an email and they'll give you a full refund. And normally it's $500 to get the complete course of Ayurveda. But if you get it right now, then it's only for webcast attendees $295. So a big discount. It's normally $500, only $295 right now. If that's still a little tough for you, there's also a payment plan you can do, and all of that is below here on this page. You can get it's like 3 installments, I believe, of $108 and over 3 months. So super easy. Only takes a second to check out. Would love for you to join us for this full course. It's a deep dive, and it is comprehensive. And as I said, it's not Ayurveda in terms of looking at it strictly from a medical perspective, but Ayurveda as how do you optimize the condition of your body and your mind for the spiritual experience. And it's the same science that can be used to bring yourself into balance, the same science that you can use to keep yourself healthy throughout your years so you can develop the type of longevity, the type of rejuvenative power so you can enjoy your life, so you can do what you came here to do. That's what Ayurveda is really about. So regardless, if you're coming with us into this full course or not, I hope you will. That is my wish. But if you're not able to or not wanting to, my hope is that this experience here today has served you, that you've gotten something useful out of it, that you'll take 1 or 2 things out of this, and that you'll apply it into your life, and that you'll give it a chance. And I want to thank you from my heart for attending today, for taking the class, for opening your heart, opening your mind to these teachings, and wishing you all the very best, wishing you lots of love. Let's stay in touch, keep connected. We're on Facebook, and we're on Instagram, and we're on all that stuff, and we do love to interact with all of you. So take a look at the course. You can read different people's experiences below. You can just click through. You can get the course. You'll be in within moments. Just takes a few minutes. And either way, love to you all. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Have a beautiful weekend. And thank you all so much. Satnam.